children
Yeah.
have been delivered into sex slavery, forced labor, other atrocities. And even after hearing that report, the US Congress still approved more money to fund this Democrat agenda. What will you do to stop the sexual exploitation of children?
Well, we're going to stop a lot of things, but you don't really need a bill. All you have to do is say close the border. This is why with Biden, who's the worst president in history, and she's the worst vice president. Now here's the difference. She's not as good as him. He's actually better than her. This is what we are. This is where we are. This is not even possible. I think he's probably smarter than she is, for one thing. We cannot do this to our country. We've gone through 4 years of this with people that are incompetent, and we can't do this. But they were getting killed on this issue, the border. They want open borders. They forgot to stop when they did it about 3 months ago. They made it a little bit tougher to try and make the numbers. The only thing is they forgot to stop the airplanes that were flying over the border. Big Boeing, beautiful planes loaded up with migrants. They have no idea who they are. All they know is they were heading toward the middle of our country. And it's almost like a death wish, if you want to really think about it. I always like to know, where does the other side come from? Like in business, you want to know, what's their game, and you can figure things out. Nobody can understand who would be willing to do this. This is the worst thing. To me, this is worse than inflation, and inflation's bad. It's destroying people. But this is worse. This is destroying our country, the fabric of our country, what they've done. And it's a very tough thing. We're going to get it out. We're going to take care. We're going to have a big deportation. We're going to start with the killers and the drug dealers, the murderers. We have so many. But you really say, how did this happen? How could a thing like this have been allowed to happen? Who would want it? We call it the party of common sense. I do. I don't know if anyone else does, but I do. It's now the party of common sense. Common sense is you don't have an open border with everybody coming in. And it's also common sense for countries. I would have been worse than any of them. Venezuela, all of these countries, not all over the world. The Congo, a lot of people coming in from the Congo. What's going on in the Congo? Maybe you can tell me. But we have prisoners coming in from the Congo. They're in jails. Where do you come from? Jail. What did you do? We will not tell you. It ain't good. Okay? But who would want this? They're destroying our country.
I can't even believe I have to ask this next question, because I could never imagine having to put disaster response and illegal immigration in the same question, but because...
And those people are not being taken care of. North Carolina is being so badly taken care of by Biden. It's horrible. And her.
And their Democrat government.
And she said she'd stick with the policies. Okay, so you said 325,000 youth. What you didn't say is most of them are probably dead, never to be seen by their parents again. That to me is the greatest. That's an atrocity. Look at some of the worst things ever to happen in the world. 325,000 young people, probably mostly dead, or sex trade, or slavery.
Facilitated by the U.S. government.
By her. She was the border czar. They were allowed to just come in. And they were brought in totally unvetted, totally unchecked. Nobody knows where they are. So it's not actually believable. Like, I'll give you another example. To me, it's far less important, but it's very important. Common sense, right? The open borders are bigger. But why would we allow men to play in women's sports? It's like, who would do this? So yesterday, I don't know if you saw it, there was a male volleyball he transitioned into. Did you see that shot?
Saw it.
That was not a woman hitting that. The girl that got hit on the head said, I've never seen any. I've been playing for my whole life.
My alma mater.
Oh, was it the Aztecs? No, but did you see the power of that shot?
Yeah.
This was not a normal situation. Hit her right on the head. She was okay.
The crowd.
Others have been badly hurt.
Crowd gasped when they saw it.
They couldn't believe it.
Well, most of America can't believe it.
Amazing. She wasn't hurt badly. Another girl was knocked out, and she never played volleyball again. Now volleyball is at least something. You had the boxing, and you had the two people that transitioned, and they both won gold medals. You saw that, right? With the two left jabs, and the girl walked out. She said, "I'm not fighting this person." who would want men to play in women's sports? It's very bad for women. It's very bad. You know, it demeans women really terribly. And why do they want this? It's the greatest is weightlifting. Take a look at what's happening. Records that haven't been broken in 19 years are being obliterated. You know, like 100 pounds more. You drop a, you know, they take an eighth of an ounce, and they put one on one, you know, like they'd end up with like a quarter of an ounce. And they, for 18 years, the guy comes along and breaks the record by like 112 pounds or something. It's so crazy. It's, you know, people, if they died and came back, let's say they died 20 years ago and they came back, they'd say, what the hell is going on? It's crazy. And there's so many of these things, you know, there's so many of these things. I think open borders is just as crazy. Why would we have an open border? You know, the other thing we have that nobody else has. If a person comes onto the border, along the border, and if they just touch the sand on the side, right? Now, of course, they built a wall. You're not built 571 miles of wall. Nobody gives me credit for that. And that's one of the, I had the best border we've ever had, and now we have the worst border in the history of the world. But if somebody can put their foot right on the sand, congratulations, you have a 5-year court case. No other country does that. If somebody walks into another country, they take them the hell out, right? If somebody comes into our country, just gets 1 foot on the sand, get a lawyer, and let's start litigating.
I think Americans are tired of that dynamic, and that goes right to what I was
I actually think it's the biggest thing. And the polls don't bear me up, but I know the polls are wrong. The polls are fake, almost like the rest. You know, they say the biggest thing is the economy. And I guess if you add inflation into the economy, it's pretty big, right? But I think, in a way, the biggest thing is what's happening with the border, because criminals are coming into our country at a level that we've never seen before. And terrorists. They're coming in at a level. And I actually think that I gave a speech yesterday in Aurora. I went to Aurora where, these thugs are taking over.
Tren de Aragua, yes.
Oh, yeah, right. It's very good. You did a good job. It's a Venezuela gang. It's a prison gang, started in a prison, very tough prison. And, of course, they get released into our country because, their prison population's down in half. And to be honest, if I operated Venezuela or any of these countries, Honduras, I could name every one of them. I know every one of them. I actually would have acted faster. I'm amazed they probably ran out of buses. You know what they do? They take buses, load them up, drive them here, dump them in the United States. They tell them, if you ever come back, we're going to kill you. They do it a little differently. You know, we're not allowed to do that. We have to read somebody their rights all the time. And we have, think of it, 8,099,000 exactly. And that was released by Border Patrol or somebody. Somebody released those numbers. They've never been released before. We were never specific. It was people coming in. And the reason they released them is because they think our country's going to hell. And they think so. So those numbers were gotten in a way that were very interesting, actually.
Well, despite bragging, the regime bragged how FEMA was diverting, in 2022, diverting a whole bunch of funds to illegal aliens through the FEMA emergency fund. We've got the White House on record saying
everything.
And they've denied it, and then they've said, you going out there claiming that this is actually going on, that money has been used from the FEMA emergency relief fund, that it's you are spreading the disinformation, the misinformation out there. What's your reaction to their trying to cover that up?
Biden's incompetent. And the only advantage is that I believe he hates her more than he hates me, and he hates me a lot, all right? But Biden's a grossly incompetent person. I believe she's worse. And it took him a couple of days to think of that one. But here's what's really bad. They got hit with a very bad hurricane, especially North Carolina and parts of Georgia. But North Carolina really got hit. I'll tell you what, those people should never vote for a Democrat because they held back aid. They were so bad. But when I was there, a person from North Carolina, an official, said, you know Elon Musk? And I said, I happen to. He endorsed me like as good as you can, right? A while ago, but he endorsed me. They said, well, we need Starlink I said, what's Starlink? And basically it's a communication system, a great one. So I called Elon, I got the system done. And when they were bringing it, they were stopped. Did you hear that? They were stopped. They couldn't bring it. They desperately needed, because all there was, they had no communication to any place. You know, they were actually cut off by water. It's like they were cut off. And they desperately, and you know, they stopped them from getting, it took them 2 days to get it in. He was going to have it there immediately. So something is strange going on. But if I were from North Carolina, you should not vote for the Democrat, because what they did is disgusting, I think. Now, Biden thinks they're doing wonderful, but he doesn't know what wonderful is, you know. He's run a terrible country, and he thinks anything's wonderful. He just wants to, you know, go to sleep at 4 o'clock.
Well, you're getting some support from across the board from many areas in the country where Republicans haven't traditionally received support. Let me give an example. Televisa Univision revealed Latinos are rejecting the Democrats, their culture of death, their open borders, and everything you and I have discussed. In turn, they're in historic numbers supporting you. But that's led some left-wing Latinos like NPR's Maria Inosa to claim that Hispanics who support Trump want to be, quote, white. Joe Biden said, if you don't know whether you're for me or you're for Trump, then you ain't black. What do you think about a Democrat that would rob an American of their heritage simply because that American doesn't want to vote Democrat?
Well, they're probably racist to start off with. Biden's probably racist, but they're probably racist to start off with. I heard him when he made that remark a while ago, and it was a stupid remark then. And actually, it wasn't well received by black people at all. But look, we have a country, we have to get it back, we have to get control. When I was in the debate with him first, but then when I had the debate with her, it's a great debate. I thought it was a great debate, but I did have 3-on-1. I probably had 2-on-1 because they were much tougher than she was. And they said things that were like, they said, when I said crime is rampant, and David Muir, total lightweight. I don't watch him anymore. But he said, crime is down. And I said, you know, I don't know where you come from, but I don't have to look at a piece of paper to say crime is way up. No, crime is down. The FBI reported. Oh, great. The FBI reported it. First of all, they didn't report. You know, when they were doing the crime stats, they didn't include lots of areas that were heavily crime. I think they didn't include Chicago. They didn't include areas.
Los Angeles.
And even then it was even or something, right? I said, no, crime is up. And it turned out the next day they released crime numbers. It was up 45%. But I haven't gotten an apology from David Muir or ABC. And I think one other thing while we're with you, I think the CBS scandal with 60 Minutes, I think it's the worst thing I've ever heard in broadcasting history. She's incompetent. She gave a ridiculous answer. Somebody over there probably spoke with, I'm sure the Democrats spoke to him. They wanted that answer removed and replaced with another answer. So they took the answer out and they put another answer in that they took from an entirely different part of her speech to make her look better. I've never heard of stuff like this before. And I think that I think that 60 Minutes should go off the air. I think it's the worst broadcast scandal I've ever heard.
No, it's not journalism. They don't do journalism over at
It's
ABC.
also election interference. It also is license threatening. You know, they have a license from, that's not cable. Here they have a license from the federal government. And they pay nothing. They pay peanuts. They pay nothing. They should take that license away from CBS. They should absolutely. They violated the whole covenant of the license. They took her answer out and they put another answer in.
What do you think about their pushing back? They said that that's an attack on the First Amendment, they say.
Well, they always say that, you know. It has nothing to do with the first. No, they're crooked people. They're crooked. They're fake news. I learned that a long time ago. But this is more than fake. This is corrupt news. She gives an answer. It's really bad. So she'd be exposed as being even dumber than people think she is, right? That answer was crazy. They take another answer from another part of the report and didn't use the question, and they put it there. They put it in, and they got caught. That's election interference. It's fraud. it's not fair to me, because they didn't do that to me. I tell you what, 60 Minutes would do to me all the time. They'd shorten my answer. I'd give an answer, but all different important points.
ABC, during your debate, they didn't ask one question about the assassination attempt, the attempt on your life.
They didn't.
What was going through your mind? You tried to talk about it, and they interrupted you, said, "Oh, sorry, out of time." What was going through your mind when they did that to you, number one? And number two, what ABC has been doing, CBS has been doing, and a lot of the left-wing broadcasters have been doing, what do you think of the state of journalism in the United States with these left-wingers in charge?
Well, first of all, I didn't want to bring up assassination, but now that you mention it, and other people have mentioned it, probably should have been brought up. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. They play it down as much as possible. It's a heavy deal, assassination. And I ask, why did they open up the apps? They have 3 apps. The first one had 3 apps, and the second one, I think, had 6 phones. That's a little unusual. And why haven't they been opened up? Why haven't they opened up? They opened them up for J6. Why haven't they opened up the phones? And I think a couple of the apps, you had the 2. One had 3 apps. The other one had, I believe, 6 cell phones. Why haven't they opened them up? And some were foreign oriented, and they haven't been able to open them up. So why? They opened them up on J6, I think, pretty much, right? They had no problem doing that. So, look, we have a very corrupt country, and we're going to straighten it out. The radical left, what they've done to our country is incredible. What Biden has done, and now I say Kamala, and she, on the border, it's her. She was border czar. She was put in charge of the border. She never went there. She went to one location that doesn't count because it was like you'd go there to have dinner with your family, okay? She never went to the border. What they've done to our country with Afghanistan, with inflation, with October 7th, they would have never happened if I was president. Today, Boris Johnson came out and he made a strong statement. He said, and he was right there, he said, he knows all the players very well. If Trump were president, Ukraine would have never been attacked by Russia, which is true. I've said that many times. They would have never attacked. And I got along well with Putin. He would have never attacked. Think of all those dead people. They're dead. All those cities are destroyed. I mean, they're just, it's a demolition site. The whole place is like a demolition site. Those beautiful towers of gold, they're laying on their sides smashed. All of that stuff would have never happened. Afghanistan would have never happened. We were getting out, but we were getting out with strength and with dignity. And we don't take the military out first. You take the military out last. They took the military, and they should have used Bagram to get out, not this little local airport. But importantly, you know who owns Bagram right now? Took it over China. And the reason we should have stayed at Bagram was because it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. So here's the sad part. We had a situation where many years ago we spent billions and billions building the longest runways, the strongest runways, thick. Can land anything on those runways, right? It's very hard to do and very expensive. We just gave it to China. And we gave billions of dollars worth of military equipment. And we lost 13 great people. And we had many obliterated too. Nobody.
And we left thousands of vetted Afghan allies and American citizens behind.
Right. They left
to the Democrats
and Afghans behind. Yeah.
Let's turn to the economy, because you brought it up a couple of times. Americans are grateful. You want to cut taxes on tips, on car interest, Social Security, etc. But the debt, the national interest on the debt now, is that the interest, we're paying more on that debt than we're spending on national defense. Productivity, we can't reach full productivity. As you know this better than anybody.
Yep.
We can't get beyond 2 to 3% growth in this country because of this massive $36 trillion debt, and you can't grow your way out of $36 trillion of debt. So, with you proposing these tax cuts, are you acknowledging that we don't have an under-taxation problem? We have a government overspending problem.
No, we have a government incompetence problem. we're going to bring companies back through a system of tariffs, taxes, and protection of the companies that come in so that they can't be pillaged. We're going to bring thousands of companies back. We allowed them to be stolen from us. They went to Mexico. They went to China. By the way, Mexico is a big threat. Do you know, I've been talking about China building big car companies in Mexico, right? Do you know what I found out yesterday? Because I was in Detroit at the Economic Forum, and I talked about cars. We're going to bring car manufacturing back. But I have a friend who builds plants, and he's building big ones in Mexico. And I saw him the other day, and I've been talking about this for a year because it's horrible. Do you know what happened? When they saw that I was bringing up the subject, they stopped building the plants. How about that? Those big plants, the biggest in the world, they said, if Trump's president, and they stopped. You know who it was? China in Mexico, building plants. All work has stopped. I consider that a great thing. I'm sure Mexico's not thrilled.
Yeah.
I consider it.
Sure. Last thing I have for you, Mr. President. An untold number of lives have been saved after you put Supreme Court judges in place that returned the abortion debate to the states. Yet, depending on whatever estimate you read, 20 to 40 million Christians did not vote their values in the 2020 election. What are you and the campaign in the final weeks here doing to turn those 20 to 40 million Christians into Trump voters?
Well, they're going to have to do what they want. But when you look at the alternative, this is the worst. Our country is going to be destroyed. And I was able to get what everybody wanted for 52 to be exact. For 52 years, they wanted Roe v. Wade brought back to the states. And I believe in the exceptions for life of the mother, rape and incest. But for 52 years, they wanted it back, and I was able to do that. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, every conservative and liberal, they wanted it back. And they wanted to be back in the states and a vote of the people. So Ronald Reagan believed in the exceptions. I believe in the exceptions. And we have it there, and now they're voting. And you're going to see something, because this issue is tearing our country apart. And I think I'm getting all of the Christian vote. How could a Christian vote for? I have such endorsements. I have so many people supporting me. I was watching the other day Robert Jeffress. I had so many people on television say we have to vote for Trump. Almost universal support, because if you look at her, she's against religion. Absolutely. He was too. Biden was bad, but he wasn't like, this one's bad. This one's a Marxist. She's a Marxist. Her father was a Marxist, and he was a professor of Marxist economics, which is an interesting term. Very interesting term. Explain out what that means exactly. And I wonder what happened to him, because I'd love to hear from him. I would love to hear from the father. He's probably a good guy. But nobody ever talks about the father. If it was me, they'd be talking about, let's go and interview the father. Nobody. Did you ever hear the mainstream media said, let's talk to her father? But I'm doing very well with Christians, very well. Evangelicals, they love Trump. I think I'm at 88% or something like that. I hope they vote. Christians, evangelicals have a very low, I'm talking over a 50-year period, they have a very low percentage of voting. Very unfortunate. You know who else does? Gun owners. If you go NRA, the gun owners, if they voted, we could never lose. Gun owners don't vote, meaning they vote at like 15 or 16%. If they ever voted, we could never lose an election. Same thing with Christians. They vote, they go to church, but they don't vote. They have to vote. It's so important.
Mr. President, thank you for the time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.